All right. Hey, Josh, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good. Hi. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is really cool.
Yeah, we're very excited to chat a little bit. You do a little bit of writing. You also do, you do video editing, reels for actors, and website design. Obviously, we're interviewing you because you're an actor, but I'm definitely curious about those other
Yes,
services and how they sort of like help you for paying the bills and everything. And we'll probably talk about that.
sure.
Give us a little bit of an
For sure.
introduction on yourself. How did you start your acting career? What do you do? Why do you enjoy it?
Yeah. So my name is Joshua Dejardins, as I love to say my last name. Started actually in college. I used to say Dejardins because I grew up in Massachusetts. But then my first session in college was voice and speech, and she was like, "No, it should be Desjardins." So whenever I go, that always gets a good laugh whenever I audition and stuff. But yeah, so I went to school in Point Park University in Pittsburgh. I think I got like a flag over there, but loved my alma mater. Had a great 4 years there. And went to school for musical theater. So moved to New York a couple years later, and I worked with a cabaret company in Pittsburgh before I moved to New York, which was really great because I got to network a lot. So now I'm here. I've been here for over 10 years. And my day job is working in tech. So I get to do a lot of, well, now I get to help other actors with all things tech, whether it be helping them with their social media presence or their video demo reels or websites, of course, which I think is like the new business card that everyone needs. So, outside of here, I do a lot of writing. Very therapeutic thing for me, and also I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed writing.
Awesome. Cool. I'm just going to hit my air conditioner really quick. Give me one.
Yeah.
Don't want to have too much background sound.
Yeah, totally.
So tell us a little bit about your acting career specifically, and what would you say are like one or two of your biggest accomplishments so far?
Sure. So I really feel like my acting career started in Pittsburgh. One, we had a great, not only college program, but an adult repertory company as well at Point Park. So, you had lots of opportunities in getting to audition, and Pittsburgh's a really, really great city for theater. Not a lot of people know this, but Pittsburgh is one of the few cities that has their own equity contracts. So because of the amount of theater that goes on there. So I really enjoyed my time there, and I got started with a company called Picked. They did a children's show. So that was one of my first big gigs, and that's how I got my equity card.
Cool.
Taking it at that time because I think there's a lot of non-X stuff. But because I was moving to New York right after, I just actually asked for my equity card and they gave it to me. So because I was one of the lead roles in the show. So I think that was a really huge accomplishment that really made me feel great about my career, and especially making that step to New York. Also working with that cabaret company, that I got to network a lot and just learn from a lot of great people like Craig Cornelia, Steven Schwartz. I got to work with Elaine Stritch. That was always awesome. That was a memory I'll never forget. But so yeah, those are probably two of my biggest accomplishments.
Awesome. And what would you say would be like the one or two biggest factors that you think contributed to those that were sort of within your control, rather than
Sure.
I got lucky or something, but
Yeah. Definitely networking. Networking and meeting people and keeping those connections. I think definitely helped because that's how I created the connection for the cabaret company. And then even, just working with Elaine Stritch. She actually and I kept in touch when I moved to New York. So that was before then. You know, she moved I think to her hometown and then passed a little while ago. But that was just a really great. Networking is a really great opportunity, and I think it's really important in this business. I think acting is more so networking than it is about talent. You know, and if you're a good person that people want to work with, they're going to want to work with you, you know. I always remember in college, one of my acting teachers said that, look, you're going to meet people who don't like you because you remind them of your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, you know, and it's so true. But then you're also going to meet people who love working with you, you know. It's like, you know, some of the great actors like Patti LuPone and Hal Prince, like, you know, like, or all these people who are like these directors who are Bernadette Peters and, you know, they are Stephen Sondheim. Like, they work together because clearly they have a great relationship and they get along. So find those people who like you and you like them and continue to make great things. So I think that's important.
Awesome. So I just wrote down a question. Now you're talking about making connections with a lot of people and keeping those connections networking.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, specifically, what do you do to actually keep in touch? Do you like email people or send them postcards? What actually, like, what's your process?
Yeah, I mean, I used to send postcards after auditions and stuff. I don't know if that really helped, but I think definitely following up, at least via email, if you can. I think it's just turned into that day and age. Like, snail mail just doesn't really work. You know, a lot of that, I'm sure, gets thrown out. But I also think, you know, keeping in touch with, like, if we're talking about acting or casting directors or agents, right? If you find someone you work well with, well, then take classes with that person, you know? Go to their next audition, like, you know, see what they're up to as well. They're not just looking for you to hire, like, you're also looking to work with them. So I think it's important to keep up with those connections, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And just in terms of scheduling or like systematizing that kind of, a lot of people are like, well, how often should I reach out? Like, you know, is once a month too much, or how do I even keep track of who I've talked to?
Right. I think, you know, I get this in the writing industry because I've worked on a novel and I've been trying to submit that to literary agents, right? And I think a lot of them will say, a lot of it is online submissions. And a lot of them will say, if you don't hear back from us within 6 to 8 weeks, it either means we didn't like you or feel free to apply to a different agent, right? So I think if you followed up after an audition or if you haven't connected with this person, I think also reaching out to them to let them know what you're up to is also just as important. So, but if you're not doing anything once a month, you know, then you don't need to reach out. But if you got a show coming up, I think letting them know and keeping yourself on their radar, I think is better than just following up for the sake of following up.
Awesome. So let me see. Before we move on to the next question on the list, I just wanted to ask you. We talked a little bit about your editing reels and the website services for actors. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's definitely, money is a reality, and having something that you're able to offer people in the industry is like freelance can bring in extra income past what you might already make acting from a job. So tell us a little bit about, like, how did you get into offering those other services, and how do you feel like it supports you in your acting career?
Yeah, sure. So I got into it because my day job is in tech. So I started, that got me into, you know, learning how to use iMovie or Final Cut Pro for video editing. I then met friends who do, Apple actually used to have, when I got my first Mac like 10 years ago, Apple used to have their own web development app called iWeb. So I started learning about that. And then when that went away, a lot of the websites started turning over to online-based web sources. So like WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, right? Where all I need is an internet access to be able to log into someone's website and be able to update and manipulate it. As you may know, it looks like you run your own website as well. So so a lot of that just got into familiarity and just keep learning, right? Like almost testing it out myself, building my own website helped lead to, well, then now I can offer this to other people. A lot of what I get is from word of mouth. Actually, I had a really good friend who worked at Actors Connection, and she would make referrals to me sometimes. And it's great because that also keeps me involved in the acting community as well. And I really like helping people that way. I understand that a lot of actors are not tech savvy. They usually don't have to be. So I think it's great that I can still help them further their careers, and it gives me that, warm, gooey feeling as well. So like, I do like helping them with whether it's video editing or web design or social media now. I think social media is really important. So helping people with a social media presence, whether it's, create a Facebook page for them and teaching them how to use that, or organizing their YouTube page, because in a day where everything is photographed and videoed, it's important to have that. But if someone goes to your YouTube page,
it froze. Re-say like 2 sentences back.
Oh, okay. So in a day where where everything is photographed and videoed, right? It's important to have that presence on YouTube or Vimeo or wherever. But but it's also important to have it organized. If someone goes to your YouTube page to see your performance stuff, well, they shouldn't go to your YouTube page to see your complaints about your, cell phone carrier or something. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's important to have that present and keep it organized.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, actors don't necessarily need to be tech savvy to be able to start a side business. You don't have to be a video editor. You don't even have to be like a photographer. You could literally do something if you find that you're good at style and dressing up. You can teach people. There's plenty of teachers. Plenty of people out there who might not even be needing to be actors, but who are looking for a personal style. Anything. Exactly. And it's really important that you do develop some sort of side skill and offer that to people, because it'll allow you to supplement. You could easily earn like an extra $50 to even $500 or more in a month with not too much time.
My extra work that I do right now, I have a couple clients who I work with pretty consistently, one being Reyesa. I love getting to help her with her website and, whenever she needs demo work and stuff as well. And I've seen her, especially in the past year, go from, small readings to, then getting a really great part on Law & Order. So that also makes me feel good too, that she's the talent with the capital T, but being able to help her maybe submit those videos or whatever it is, I think it's really, really great that you get to help like you're doing. You're helping people by creating these videos and, talking to people so that other people can learn. And I think that's important. We should never stop learning.
Yeah, there's a lot more that we were talking in a recent interview with a girl named Zenny about how there's more forms of capital or paying people than just money,
Yes.
You might get money for things, which is great, but you also get like a really good feeling inside. You get to learn, experience, you get to meet people. Those are all different forms of capital. And by offering services, it's a really easy way to start like building up a network and meeting people, and that just can lead to other opportunities down the line too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Plus, you know, I got my day job that takes 40 hours a week, but then this is my passion, right? And I think it's important that we still do something to fuel our passion to maybe help counterbalance our day jobs. Yeah, cool.
So my next question is just about how you promote and market yourself as an actor. What would you say are some of the things that you do on a daily or weekly basis to get paid acting work, and how have they contributed to moving your career forward?
Yeah, well, because I've been more focusing on my writing and stuff, my career has sort of shifted to that. But really, I think keeping a schedule, regardless of what you're doing, helps, right? You know, when I was auditioning more, I remember going to, you know, actorsequity.org, looking up all the auditions coming up for the week or the following week, and putting them in my schedule, knowing, okay, I need to be at this audition. Is it an open call? Is it an EPA? You know, like, is it going to be busy? You know, a lot of times for musical theater stuff, I would have to be there super early. But then a lot of times for maybe play auditions, it wasn't as crowded, so I could go a little later if I wanted to, you know. So, but I think keeping a schedule really helps, and putting enough time into it, but not stretching yourself thin either. So, there was an acting coach once who taught me that, you know, if you've got 25% of yourself trying to learn improv, but then another 25%, you know, trying to take, you know, singing lessons and then dancing lessons, like, you're stretching yourself too thin. Like, focus one thing at a time. You know, become that great dancer before maybe going to be the great improver. And, you know, all we have is time. We don't need to do it all now, because if we do, it's not going to happen. So, yeah. But if you slowly build those goals, right, I think that helps. So promoting myself, I do a lot of, I think, social media, keeping up with my Facebook page. And I think there's a difference between having a page versus a profile, right? My profile is all my personal stuff going on, but my page is where I promote maybe my new writing or my new music or, you know, whatever it might be. So I think that's really important. But
yeah, I mean, having a very specific schedule is ultra important. And it's funny because I never really had a personal calendar for myself up until like a few months ago.
Okay.
My calendar pretty much consisted of all the photo shoots that I was doing.
Sure.
You know, running the City Headshots company, back when it was just me doing the photography, it was every single day there were like multiple shoots and they were scheduled in. And then I would kind of try to find time to respond to emails or do those sorts of things in my free time.
Right.
Now I have another photographer who's the primary shooter. I do occasionally shoots with people who like want to specifically work with me, but most of my days during my week are, you know, fairly open, or I actually have like a personalized calendar. And I think
right.
it makes you sort of prioritize, like, all right, I came up with like these 3 ideas of what I want to work on, but I know that they're each going to take like a pretty long time. So what one do I think is most important to fit into my day here?
Right, right.
You kind of like shift from, rather than being reactive and like, you know, all day you're reacting to emails and spending your free time doing stuff. You actually have scheduled times where you can be proactive and be like, all right, you know what, today I'm going to on my website and make that good. You know, super.
On Wednesdays, I call #writing Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, I try to keep writing, right? You know, because I know also, you know, a lot of us probably work 40-hour weeks, maybe even jobs to be able to. So, but you're right, if you schedule that time in to be able to, all right, at least this time during the week, like when I get home on Wednesdays, I'm going to write. Like, that's my focus. I'm not going to make plans to go out that night. This is my time to do this. So, yeah, I think that I totally understand that. Sometimes just blocking times for us to work on certain things is better than just, oh, well, I need to do this once a week, or, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. I like to think of it, and this will probably be helpful for people, like, because sometimes it can kind of get overwhelming, right? You can think like, oh, I have so many things to do and I want to schedule everything. But I try to think of it in terms of almost like a pyramid, where like the bottom of the pyramid is all of the things that need to get done. But at the top of the pyramid is, what is my overall strategy? Like you said, not doing everything. You know, sometimes people are afraid, like, oh, if I don't practice every area of my skill, like if I don't do dance and singing and this,
Right.
leaving opportunities on the table. But the truth is, there's so many opportunities for each area. If you pick one and you're like, okay, this next 6 months, my primary strategy is I'm going to get really amazing at singing. So then things that are written down, and you're like, well, like 80% of these things don't really relate to singing. So I'm going to actually just do the 20% that relate to my specific strategy for the next 6 months. And then I can figure out what I want to do next.
Yeah. No, it's exactly true.
Awesome. So I want to just ask, what would you say are like one or two of your biggest goals in your acting career, or if you're focused on your writing or whatever, but like what things are you excited and moving towards, and what are some specific steps that you're actually taking to reach them?
Yeah, so I mean, one of my biggest goals right now is to get my novel out there, which I think is easier said than done. Than my first piece of writing was a children's book that we got, that my illustrator and I got self-published. So that was a great moment in my writing career. But now a novel's, although a little easier to publish, because these days, you know, Amazon, you know, will just take it and do print on demand. So that's great. But, you know, finishing it and editing it and making sure it's perfect is like, you know, the hardest way to get there. So, but my biggest goal right now is to probably try and find a literary agent for that stuff to help me with my writing goals. Just like, you know, in your acting career, you're trying to find an agent to help with that. Yeah. So that's probably one of my biggest goals so far, because like I said, I've shifted with the into the writing aspect.
And I was going to ask, I mean, with actors, they're looking for their talent agent, and with you, you're looking for literary agent. So do you have specific plans or steps that you're thinking of to get a literary agent that might be available for actors?
Yeah, this year I actually had set a goal for myself as one of my resolutions to, for every day I have off, to submit to an agent. There's so many out there. And I started doing that pretty consistently at the beginning of the year. You know, I always feel like I get a third of different responses. A third of the people don't reply, right? So you just get a probably not, right? A third of the people say no thanks. And then a third of the people might say, well, this isn't my thing, but do you have anything else, right? So that's why I also think it's important to have other writings, you know, up your sleeve, at least for me, which I do. But I've also realized I think I need to really re-edit some of the things that I'm submitting to them, like especially my first chapter, and then some of the excerpts that sometimes I submit. So I've been more focusing on that and really trying. There's 2 chapters I haven't finished, so really trying to finish those beforehand. I always felt, well, if I submit something, they as an agent might have some, you know, opinions, so I don't want to finish it quite yet. But it's still good to have at least a first draft of something, right? It's like if you go in to sing 16 bars of something, well, then what if they ask you to sing the whole song? You better know the whole song. You know what I mean? So I think it's that same aspect.
And when you submit to the agents and you do hear back, like obviously the ones that you don't hear back, you might occasionally follow up a couple days later and say like, hey, just wanted to check in. I haven't heard back. Make sure my email didn't go to spam. You know, sometimes we'll do something like that, but then if you do hear back, do you ever ask them like, what would be any suggestions that you have to make this type of work something you would be more interested in?
Yeah, you know, a lot of it is, especially with literary agents, a lot of them are only looking for specific things. But there could be someone else in the agency who would be more of a fit for what I'm doing. So, and actually, some people who do write back will give feedback, which is great.
Yeah.
The only thing I've really felt about writing is everyone has an opinion about something, right? So until I find the person who's actually going to work with me, I'll take the feedback with a grain of salt. But you know, if I took everyone's opinion, I would constantly. So sometimes you have to trust your own gut with certain things.
Yeah, it cut you off right as you said, if I took everyone's opinion, and then what did she say?
Right, yeah, sorry. So if I took everyone's opinion, I would just keep rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. You know,
Yeah.
so sometimes until I'm working with a person who's going to pay me, you know, to get my material out there, then sometimes you have to just stick with your own gut and yeah.
That's a great piece of advice. It reminds me of a quote. I forget who the quote is by, but it says, "He who trims himself to suit everyone will soon whittle himself away."
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Very true.
Excellent. All right, so I'd like to move into just some specific stuff with acting again, and talking a little bit about auditioning. Do you have any like 2, 3 top tips that you can give to an actor who typically struggles to get called back after auditioning?
Well, if you're having struggles getting called back, I think, I would probably change what you're doing, right? What are you auditioning with? Change your audition material. I mean, honestly, most of the 4 years in college that we worked on was perfecting our audition book, right? And having, I remember being given a list and it was like, you need one of each of these types of pieces, something contemporary, something legit, something, rock, something pop, something, there's always something. And I think trying out new material is always great. I think also finding stuff you really enjoy singing or performing too, stuff that you can relate to. Don't just do this because it's popular, and also try to find those things that are unique, that maybe not a lot of people are doing. And if you're going to do something that a lot of people are doing, do it different. Go bold, go big. I remember taking the song Les Poissons from Little Mermaid and turning it into Dejardins and having my own lyrics. And I remember auditioning for that for Forbidden Broadway in Pittsburgh, which they used to do a lot, and getting called back for that all the time because they always enjoyed that piece and the lyrics I had put to it. So do something different and keep working on your book or your audition material.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, an agent, actually, I'm going to be interviewing Margaret Emery, who had written a book called Ask an Agent.
Okay.
And in her book, specifically, she's talking about when you're auditioning for an agent, if you tend to not get the actual, the job, she said, like, if you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, or you're not making interesting choices, like your suggestion, she said it won't kind of capture anybody's attention. So you can make a totally crazy choice sometimes for a character. Actually, some actors are even afraid to make specific choices as well because they're afraid that they'll get it wrong. But I say that it's better to make a choice and be very specific, even if it's wrong, than just kind of go in and do it like bland, right?
Exactly. Yeah, make a choice because at the very least they'll see you made a choice, right? So absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good advice. So now I forget, did you say, do you have an agent or a manager for your acting career?
I have a manager, yeah. So he submits me a lot on Actors Access, So getting emails from him all the time, you know, being like, you know, hey, we've got this coming up, or, you know, this is good. Especially, I think I'm on his theater roll call. So, you know, he'll ask about that. I've been more trying, just because of personality wise, I've been more trying to get auditions for like commercial work or film and TV. Actually, I remember auditioning for a commercial and saw the commercial. It was actually for a privacy thing with Apple. And these people were trying to build a round pizza box, and these like four people are working together, and they're, you know, like really trying to like working day and night in order to do this. And it was a really interesting commercial. So it was cool to see it get done. Like, you know, obviously I didn't get the part, but it was also cool to see like, oh, hey, I auditioned for that, you know? So yeah, so I really like, so my manager gets me a lot of work that way. But I don't have an agent, although I do recommend, if you really want to find an agent or a manager, you know, there's a lot of those middleman classes and stuff where, hey, you know, come take a meet and greet. But I think taking more of an intensive class with an agent, casting director, or manager is more important, because you get to know them better. Also, a lot of times I would meet agents, they'll ask you, well, who do you know? So I think it's important to also meet casting directors just as much, and, you know, get to know casting directors. So when you go to meet those agents, you can say, well, I've taken a class with this person and this person. I've met these people from Bernie and Telsey, you know, like, so, or Telsey and Company. So I think that, yeah, I think that that's just as important, meaning as important actors. So.
Yeah. For agents especially, I mean, they're very interested in your credits, and they want to work with people who have professional credits. Because, I mean, the audition process, when someone is going to sell you, whether it's a manager or an agent, you need to be really great at auditioning, because you could do amazing work and have a fantastic reel and even a couple of good credits. But if you kind of just got those through referrals or like some other way, rather than like auditioning, like, you know, someone knew you and they're like, hey, you know, we work, we want to bring you in. If you don't have good auditioning skills, they're not going to want to represent you, because you're going to constantly go out and fall flat every time, and it's going to make it really hard for them to get paid. You know?
Right, absolutely. So.
Yeah. All right, excellent. Well, out of everything that you've done through your career, like acting specific, what would you say are like one or two things that you think have been most helpful in moving your acting career forward?
Definitely, I think what we talked about before, keeping the schedule, right? You know, we put 40 hours into a work week to get paid, you know, but how many hours do we put into our actual career? You know, auditioning is only a part of it. So I think, you know, whether it's putting time in to keep a social media presence, or, you know, putting time in weekly or monthly to take classes, I think is just as important. Sometimes what I try to do is actually, so the extra income I make from acting and stuff, or from video editing and websites, I try to put toward my other career. So maybe toward my writing or toward my, you know, whatever it is. So, you know, I think if we did that too, right, and put even a percentage of our income or et cetera toward our careers, that would really help going forward. So, so sticking to a schedule and like you said, blocking out time for, okay, Mondays I have off, so Mondays from this time to this time, I'm going to be working on my career.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. That, and, you know, dedicating a portion of your income. I think it's super important that actors think ahead and be like, okay, I make this much money per month. I spend this much on regular expenses each month. This left. So I'm going to take a small portion of that maybe and put into savings. And then I'm going to take a small portion of it and put it into my career, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry about the phone, by the way.
Oh, no, don't
When I
worry.
do these calls, I'm doing them from my apartment, and this phone isn't going off. But anyway,
Right.
so if you had to give some advice to an actor stuck at a plateau, or they feel like they've just been, at the same sort of, they've been seeing the same people, doing the same auditions over and over again, and haven't like moved to
Yeah.
the next level, what would that be? And is there anything that an actor should avoid doing?
I mean, definitely try something different, right? Try something that's out of your comfort zone. You'd be surprised. I know a really good friend of mine who is a great musical theater person. She's got a brilliant voice, but she's been doing improv, and it works for her. She loves it. It's therapeutic. It's, she gets to be funny, and honestly, if you really want to win people over, I'm a big fan of Singing in the Rain in the sense of make them laugh. Right, make them laugh. Like if you want to be noticed, make them laugh. And when I love telling dad jokes at work. It gets me by, and but it's good humor, and so I think when you make someone laugh, that's more impressionable than having a great voice, right? I'll use Elaine Stritch in the sense that she did not have a great voice. Sorry, Elaine, but she didn't, right? She screamed a lot, but she was a phenomenal actress, and she could make you laugh in an instant. I remember watching her HBO special, or her documentary, which was basically her show at Liberty. And I remember when I first saw it, she was making me laugh so much, and then in an instant, she was making me cry, So I think the fact, if you can make someone laugh, that's more impressionable than an amazing voice, or, but
No,
that's my bits.
fantastic. Yeah. Good idea. Good advice there. Now I'm curious to hear what's a dad joke. You have one to share with us? A dad joke?
Yeah. Oh God! I mean, normally my dad jokes are spur of the moment. Like, well, one thing I'll do at work is the big thing that people like to wear now is they have ripped jeans, right? So, and I don't know why anyone would pay for rips in their jeans, but so I'll tell people, I'll be like, oh wait, you have a rip in your jeans. Go like this. And then, like someone would wipe someone off, like as if that would get it away. Clearly, it doesn't. But little things like that make people laugh. This one girl I do at work, she knows it's coming. So like, whenever I see her, we just laugh. Like I don't even have to say the joke anymore. So
Yeah.
I don't know, little things like that, to me, it's very, it makes that great connection, I think, between the two people. So
Nice. Well, yeah, I mean, making people feel an emotion, it makes you more memorable, like when you think about, whenever there's something traumatic that happens and you feel strong emotion, you're able to remember exactly where you were at that moment.
Right.
If you go to a performance that's just like, it takes you through and you feel such great emotions, whether they're funny or sad or like just like happy, whatever it is,
Right.
Those types of emotions are really, really cool. And if you can do that in your performance, if you think like, when I go in for my audition, I really want to take the casting director through an emotional journey, it kind of helps you stand out, and they feel something, and that makes you memorable.
Right. And, although sometimes in auditions we only have, 16 bars or less, right? So, I'll tell people, if you can't take them through an emotional journey, well, then pick what emotion you want to make them feel, right? If you go in just to sing 16 bars for the sake of singing 16 bars, you're not going to get the call back. But if you go in saying, I want to make them cry, or I want to make them hate me even, or I want to make them laugh, well, that's probably going to be more memorable, right? Especially if you can do that in 16 bars.
Yeah. Completely. That's awesome. Let me see. So I believe I'm just pulling up our questions again here.
Yeah.
For some reason disappeared. But anyway, we're pretty much down to our last question, which is actually we talked a little bit about it, I think. But was there anything that you think that an actor should avoid doing in their career?
Don't be a douche. Like, can I say that? Like, we live in a world where, we're very sensitive to almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're just a good-natured person, and not fake, not, don't be in this for yourself. Other people are in this for their own careers as well. Do what you can to help others. Do what you can. I think that's going to be memorable, and that'll take you further in life than just focusing on me, right?
Yeah, excellent.
So, yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to finish up by saying?
You really covered everything, which is great. There was some really great questions. Also, I would say sometimes I don't know how I would want to say something like this, but actually, no, I've got a great friend who at one point was really struggling because he was having some vocal issues and being sick all the time. And he almost couldn't stop performing, right? And honestly, I think it made things worse for this person. Sometimes there's going to be things in our life that come up. It's okay if you need to put your career on hold for a month, for 6 months, for a year. If you need to get better, if you need to focus on family, Broadway will always be there. The acting, the theater business, the film industry will always be there. So, sometimes it's almost best to take a step back, take some time away, and then push the reset button.
Mm-hmm.
I did that at work last year. Actually, I was dealing with a lot of major anxiety in my life. So I took about 3 to 4 months off and to focus on myself, learn a lot about self-care. And then I came back to it, and it was like a whole new, how I looked at work. And it was a whole new insight for me. And so don't be afraid to put your career on hold if something like that happens, because you never know when you get back to it. It could reboost you more so than if you had just kept trying to push yourself in those, maybe few months or so. But
yeah, especially in acting, where you've got so much of how you're going to be, whether you're going to be hired or not, is based on your date. It's like a headshot session. We shoot headshots all the time, and you're working with a client, and if the client keeps on wanting to force themselves to try to catch the perfect expression, it's almost impossible sometimes, and you have to kind of step back and just do laughing shots and think about something else.
Exactly.
Back in. And I know what you're saying about the time from your career. Like, I actually got similar last year. I took like 2 or 3 months away. I was like playing golf and not thinking about anything. I like doing as much like work as I could, and then it allowed me to get way more focused and way more specific, and I've actually gotten past the plateau.
Also, if there's something to avoid, do not compare yourself to others. I know that's way easier said than done. We all do it. I think it's just human nature, but especially as an actor, it's hard to see maybe all your friends or your coworkers, going further they're dating. So, you know, if you start comparing yourselves to their journeys, everyone's journey is going to be different. So, yeah, if there's one thing to avoid, don't compare yourself to others. Just keep doing you, and eventually it will happen.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't it Morgan Freeman who didn't really start his career until his 50s or something? Like, you know, some people, some of the most famous people you know, and it's not about fame, but didn't get started until later in life. So
Exactly. Yeah, that's good to keep in mind, you know. This was awesome. I mean,
yeah, this is
all the questions that I have. I really want to thank you on behalf of everyone listening to this.
Sure.
Like,
hi, everyone listening.
we're actually watching now, since we're now doing
watching, right? We're watching.
Yeah.
Video.
So, yeah, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. We'll link to all of your stuff, and, you know, hopefully actors catch a number of really helpful nuggets for themselves, you know?
Yeah, sure. Can't wait to promote it. So.
Well, thank you so much. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin.
All right.